left off. Let's start with Ms. Hasson. Under this legislation, would it be possible for the Catholic Church to be sued because it limits the priesthood only to men?
Conceivably, because if you're defining it, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I coming through? Okay. Once you open up, as the Equality Act does, you redefine what is a public accommodation. And then anything that the church is doing that is opened up to the public, you are going to have discrimination claims brought if there's an
So
arguable...
if you had a worship hall and you rented it to the public, would that be enough?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And
well, okay, that's fine. Now, Orthodox seminaries in the Jewish faith, Orthodox seminaries, I think men and women worship separately when it comes to the service. Could that be affected?
Sure. Anytime what this does is it broadens the scope of public accommodation so that churches, houses of worship, their social service activities, all the places where religious people carry out their faith are all of a sudden going to be thrust under the rubrics of this act, which means they're going to be subject to endless litigation. And that's a problem. That's a problem because the act also then specifically says.
So if you're a Catholic association and you participate in a sports league that's public, you have a team from your church, would that trigger a lawsuit?
Sure. And in fact, that's already problematic because many Catholic schools, like other faith-based schools, want to have single-sex sports.
Right.
They want to respect the privacy. And so they're running into problems when they're expected to adhere to this gender identity ideology instead of being allowed to acknowledge.
How would this affect, say, an all-girls Catholic school that participates in a sporting league?
They're going to be subject to lawsuit because what's happening here, Senator, is that this is an attempt to compel religious organizations, if they're going to be in the public square, and religious people to change their beliefs.
Okay, that's fine. I got it. Mr. David, what would you say to the question, does this legislation open up the Catholic Church to lawsuits based on the fact that they do not allow women to be priests in any fashion?
I would say in response to that question, Senator, that we have a very, very old amendment called the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. And that amendment protects religious institutions from being preferred or discriminated against in statute. This is not new.
There's nothing in the First Amendment that says that. It says, no, it doesn't. It says that every person will be allowed free exercise of their religion, free exercise clause. Right. And it says the government won't establish. It doesn't say anything about whether or not the government can say that if a religious institution participates in a sporting league, all of a sudden they're protected no matter what.
Senator, I understand the question, but I don't think we need to speculate. We have states that have had these laws on the books since the 1970s, and we're not seeing these problems.
Would you be?
So I understand the suggestion, but it's just not true.
Would you be willing to make it clear in this law?
We are more than willing to engage with any of the senators to talk about this law and whether or not clarification is needed. Okay. I don't know that we need clarification on this issue, but certainly I'm more than happy to engage further to discuss this with you and others.
Okay, so when it comes to sporting events, let's say you have a religious organization participating in secular sporting events, is that enough to require that religious organization to accept somebody of a biological, a boy playing girls sports?
This law does not change how religious institutions function, only if those religious institutions open up its places of public accommodation. So as an example, if a church or synagogue or a mosque decided to open up a restaurant, we all know that that restaurant couldn't deny services to someone
Right.
of a different
But-
faith.
Right.
That's
But-
what this law would do. It simply reasserts existing law. It does not change the law
So
for religious
if you,
institutions.
and I'll be very quick, Mr. Chairman, if you as a religious institution participated in secular activities, whether it be renting out the a facility that you own, or having a sporting association, or maybe having a school, what would happen to you?
Engaging in secular activities in and of itself does not make you a place of public accommodation. What makes you a place of public accommodation is whether or not you're open to the public, whether or not you're providing goods and services to the public. If you decided to engage in secular activities, but limit those secular activities to those of your faith without opening to the public, that is very different. And that's existing law.
Thank you.
Senator Klobuchar.